Everywhere in the universe, the weak are constantly oppressed and pushed around by those who are stronger. On planet Yautja Prime, this is no different. Dek is considered a runt Yautja, someone seen as weak and unworthy. Because of this, his own father, the clan leader Nyor, treats him as a disgrace. Nyor orders Dek's older brother Quay to carry out an execution, refusing to even allow Dek a chance to live. But Quay cannot bring himself to obey. Instead of following his father's command, he frees Dek from captivity and forces him onto his ship. Quay sends him away to the most dangerous place imaginable, the death planet, Genna. Dek knows that his brother pays the ultimate price for this act of mercy. Determined to prove that he is not weak, Dek makes a bold decision. He will travel to Genna and defeat the apex predator known as Kalisk, a creature so terrifying that even his father fears it. This is how Dek plans to prove his strength and honor his brother's sacrifice. As soon as Dek arrives in one of Genna's forests, he is immediately attacked by massive, living, vine-like creatures that swarm and strike without warning. After narrowly escaping the forest, he treats his injuries and accidentally discovers strange larva-like creatures that can be used like small biological grenades. Continuing his journey, Dek reaches an open grassland. There, he notices skeletons scattered among the tall grass, clearly from creatures that died not long ago. As he moves closer, he realizes the area is filled with sharp, hostile spike plants, waiting to strike anything that approaches. Above him, a vulture-like creature circles the sky. Moments later, this surprisingly intelligent vulture lifts a rock with its claws and drops it onto the spike plants below. In response, the plants release sharp spikes along with a pink mist, showing they can defend themselves. At the center of the grassland, inside the vulture's nest, Dek finds a beautiful woman trapped and badly damaged from the waist down. She explains that the spikes cause paralysis, and once a victim is immobilized, the vulture swoops down to feed. She promises to help Dek escape the grassland if he rescues her first. Dek hesitates and tries to rely on himself instead. He attempts to escape alone, but suddenly a sharp needle pierces his neck. Although he pulls it out, his body begins to shut down, leaving him partially paralyzed. With no other choice, Dek accepts her deal and throws one of his weapons toward her restraints. As Dek collapses, unable to move, the vulture dives from the sky, ready to attack. But just in time, the freed woman strikes back and eliminates the creature.
Hi.
When Dek regains consciousness, the woman is beside him. She introduces herself as Thea and reveals that she is not human. She is an advanced android deployed by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation for exploration missions. Thea tells Dek that she knows where Kalisk is located and offers to guide him there. In return, she wants help recovering the missing half of her body. Dek gets his trophy, and Thea regains what she lost. A perfect win-win situation. After a moment of thought, Dek agrees. He carries Thea on his back, and together they continue their journey. Their first obstacle is a shallow stream inhabited by creatures called spray snakes, which attack by spraying acidic fluids that can damage skin. Luckily, Thea carries food the creatures love. Distracted by the meal, the snakes ignore them, allowing Dek and Thea to cross safely. From Thea's story, Dek learns that her team arrived on Genna about 2 years ago. Although all members are synths, Thea and Tessa are special, far more advanced and intelligent than standard androids. During a confrontation with Kalisk, their group was scattered. Back at the main base, Tessa is heavily damaged but successfully repaired and reactivated by Weyland-Yutani technicians. However, she is warned that future missions continue to fail. The company will permanently shut her down. Under pressure, Tessa leads her team back into the forest, where they discover a parked Yautja ship. Inside, they find advanced weapons, including devices similar to Yautja freeze grenades.
Meanwhile, Dek and Thea enter a region filled with deadly razor grass, sharp enough to cut through even Yautja skin. Among the grass, they spot a massive four-legged herbivore known as the bone bison, one of Kalisk's primary food sources. The bone bison's greatest strength is its extremely thick bone carapace that protects most of its body. Its only real weakness is its face and head, which are shielded by a heavy bony mask. Thanks to this armor, the creature can push through razor grass with ease, clearing a path as it moves. Dek and Thea are not the only hunters watching the beast. A small, adorable creature with a monkey-like face is also stalking it. The moment the bone bison notices this tiny creature, it panics and runs. Carrying Thea on his back, Dek skillfully avoids the razor grass by leaping from tree to tree. He finally lands on the bone bison's back, but before he can act, he is violently kicked off. Enraged, Dek ends up grappling with the small monkey-faced creature in a brief struggle. Seizing the moment, the bone bison opens its face armor to attack. Dek does not hesitate. He strikes immediately, using his weapon to pierce the creature's exposed, softer area and bring it down. Although they defeat the bone bison, danger returns almost instantly. A new predator, known as a Luna bug, attacks. With long, tentacle-like limbs, it grabs Dek and Thea, attempting to swallow them whole. Suddenly, the monkey-faced creature leaps straight into the monster's mouth. The Luna bug bites down, but the little creature's back is so tough that its teeth nearly break. Unable to chew or swallow, the Luna bug spits all three of them out. Furious, it focuses its attacks on the small monkey-faced creature. Dek jumps onto the Luna bug's body and strikes its weak point, driving his blade into its head and ending the threat once and for all. That night, they cook the meat they gathered and share the meal together. Thea gives the small creature a name, Bud. Bud seems to grow fond of Dek, treating him like a true friend. He even marks Dek as a member of his clan and begins following him everywhere, copying his actions just like a loyal companion.
At dawn, Dek and Thea quietly continue their journey without waking Bud, who is still sleeping. Eventually, they arrive at a devastated area, the exact place where Thea once lost the lower half of her body during a fierce battle with Kalisk. The land around them is shattered, clearly marked by an overwhelming clash. Thea calmly reconnects the two broken halves of her body and begins repairing herself. While doing so, she warns Dek that Kalisk is far too powerful for him to face alone. She explains that her team will arrive soon and urges him to leave before it's too late. But Dek refuses. He tells her that his brother gave his life because of him, and no matter what it takes, he will defeat Kalisk, bring proof of victory home, and show his father that he is truly strong. He wants to claim a trophy that will finally earn his worth.
You think your brother saved your life just so you could die here?
To draw Kalisk out, Dek deliberately ignites fuel, triggering a massive explosion. The hidden apex predator finally responds and moves in. Dek throws everything he has into the fight, slashing at Kalisk's body and even its tail, using all his strength to try to bring it down. But it's not enough. To his shock, the creature's damaged body parts begin regenerating on their own. Meanwhile, Thea is relieved, believing her body repair is almost complete, but her relief doesn't last long. An accident causes her body to split apart once again. She immediately stops repairing herself and jumps in to support Dek. Working together, they manage to set a trap, and Dek succeeds in severing Kalisk's head from its body. For a brief moment, it looks like victory. But Kalisk regenerates yet again and launches another attack. Dek doesn't even have time to dodge. He is completely overpowered and defeated. Strangely, Kalisk pauses. It leans in, sensing Dek's scent. After a moment, instead of finishing him, the creature backs away and spares his life. That mercy is short-lived. Tessa and her team suddenly arrive and fire freeze grenades. Both Kalisk and Dek are instantly immobilized, frozen in place, and taken captive. When Dek regains consciousness, he finds himself restrained. Tessa begins conducting experiments on him, treating him like a research subject.
Tessa!
However, Thea wakes up as well, and this time, she goes against her sister.
Like you rescued me. He rescued me. I did not come here to rescue you. I am completing our mission.
She helps Dek escape from the transport vehicle. Once free, Dek reaches his ship hidden in the forest, only to discover that nearly all his weapons are gone. He immediately realizes that Tessa stole them. Still, Dek refuses to give up. Instead of relying on advanced weapons, he turns the planet itself into his arsenal. He gathers razor grass, puffer plants, and even creatures like spray snakes that release corrosive acid, turning all of them into deadly tools. During this time, Dek also realizes the truth. Bud is Kalisk's child. Dek brings Bud with him and rescues Thea's lower body, which is trapped under rubble. Together, the three of them secretly infiltrate the Weyland-Yutani main base. Working as a team, they quietly take down numerous guards and successfully reunite Thea's broken body halves. Once she is whole again, Dek explains the truth to her that Kalisk is Bud's mother. Dek assigns roles. He tells Thea to take Bud and rescue Kalisk from captivity, while he stays behind to stall Tessa and the guards. Android soldiers armed with pulse rifles spot Dek and immediately move in to attack, unaware that puffer plants surround the area. On Dek's signal, the spray snake releases corrosive acid onto the plants. Instantly, they react like biological cluster bombs. Dek doesn't even need to fight directly. The explosions wipe out the soldiers one by one. At that moment, Tessa arrives in a power loader mech and tries to eliminate Dek using a plasma caster. But the spray snake jumps in front of him, shielding Dek from the blast. The creature is destroyed, saving his life. Enraged, Dek attacks Tessa with everything he has, but the power difference is overwhelming and he begins to lose. Just then, Kalisk, freed thanks to Thea, bursts in and joins the fight on Dek's side. Tessa's mech cannot withstand Kalisk's sheer strength for long. It is torn apart piece by piece. And Kalisk ultimately consumes Tessa. Kalisk reunites with Bud, gently nuzzling and bonding with her child. Though she cannot speak, she shows gratitude to Dek, allowing him to approach without hostility. But the battle isn't over. Tessa is still alive inside Kalisk. From within, she fires her plasma caster, causing massive internal damage.
Betrayed by my own sister.
As Kalisk collapses, Tessa attempts to take revenge on Thea for betraying her.
We're not sisters.
Before she can act, Dek strikes first, driving his blade through Tessa's body. Bud follows up, destroying her head in one final act, avenging his mother. Afterwards, Dek retrieves Tessa's head along with her plasma caster. Together with Bud and Thea, he boards his ship and flies back to Yaoucha Prime. Standing before his father, the clan leader, Nyor, Dek presents Tessa's skull as a trophy, and as his reward, he demands the return of his brother's cloaking device. Nyor refuses and instead orders his bodyguards to kill Dek. Dek swiftly defeats both guards with ease, then turns on his father, injuring him and proving his superior strength. Realizing he can't win head-on, Nyor activates his cloaking device and attacks from stealth. But Dek is smarter. He refuses to repeat his brother's fate. Using his ship, he triggers powerful winds across the area. The swirling sand and dust reveal Nyor's position. Dek strikes. Just as Nyor once did to his brother, Dek stabs him, cuts off his arm, and traps him in his own snare. Only then does Nyor admit his mistakes. He begs for his life and offers Dek a place in the clan. Dek calmly rejects him. He says he already has his own clan. At that moment, Bud, now much larger than before, steps forward and ends Nyor's life. Dek retrieves his brother's cloaking device from his father's severed arm and wears it. Standing alongside Bud and Thea, they celebrate their victory together. But suddenly, a massive Yaoucha ship approaches. The remaining clan members draw their weapons, preparing for what comes next. When Thea asks if those arriving are his friends, Dek answers calmly, "They're my mother's."